This is the Poco F6, a new feature-packed mid-range phone from Xiaomi. Could this phone bring the value you're looking for in a mid-ranger? I'm Will for GSM Arena, and let's find out in our Poco F6 review. The Poco F-series phones are what some might call flagship killers. They provide high-level chipset performance and some nice features for a mid-range price. And when it comes to features, the vanilla Poco F6 is nearly the same as the Poco F6 Pro. There are differences when it comes to the chipset and camera performance, but we'll get into those in a bit. The design of the Poco F6 is pretty low-key. The phone is made of plastic, and its monocolored finish is smooth, with a slight glittery appearance when it catches light. Just like on the previous Poco F5, you get individual circles for the cameras and the ring flash. The plastic frame is flat and lends a decent grip. There is ingress protection here, and it's rated higher than before at IP64, so the phone should be a bit better at handling both dust and water splashes than its predecessor. Another nice upgrade here is the higher res display. This time around you get a 1220p resolution and Gorilla Glass Victus protection. Otherwise, it's still a 6.67-inch OLED with a 120Hz refresh rate. The pixel density isn't as high as that of the Pro model's QHD panel, but still the sharpness is great here at 446 ppi. The display is fully equipped too, with support for 12-bit color, Dolby Vision, and HDR10+ video. The brightness has been improved since last year as well. We achieved a maximum of nearly 550 nits with a manual slider, and this can boost to over 1200 nits in auto mode if you need it. And with a 120Hz refresh rate, swiping and scrolling on this panel is very smooth. And when idling, the refresh rate will dial down to 60Hz to save energy. For audio, there's a pair of stereo speakers. They have very good loudness, and the sound is full and clean, with decent bass. Poco has done away with the side-mounted fingerprint reader. The Poco F6 has an under-display one, which is quite responsive. And the phone comes with 256 or 512 gigs of UFS 4.0 storage on board. That isn't expandable through microSD though. The interface of the new Poco phones is Xiaomi's latest HyperOS, running on top of Android 14. If you want to find out more about the specifics of HyperOS, you can check out our dedicated video. And for software support, the Poco F6 is promised 3 years of major OS updates and 4 years of security patches. Now we'll get into the chipset. It's the new Qualcomm Snapdragon 8S Gen 3. It's a more affordable version of this year's top chipset, the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, and it's again built on a 4nm process, but the architecture is different. In benchmarks, the Poco F6 does an excellent job, delivering flagship-worthy numbers and outscoring basically all of the mid-range competition. But it is still beat by the Poco F6 Pro, which uses a bona fide flagship chipset from last year. Anyway, there's more than enough power here for smooth everyday use, multitasking, and heavy gaming. The Poco F6 was able to maintain a high level of performance through our prolonged stress test as well. Our only concern is that within this high level, we notice spikes, which could possibly affect a frame rate in-game. The Poco F6 has a 5000 mAh battery like last year, but its battery life scores are notably lower, with the phone earning an overall active use score of 10 hours and 36 minutes. The web browsing and video runtimes were the worst offenders. At least you have 90-watt fast charging for when you need to top up, an improvement over last year's 67 watts. With the bundled adapter, we were able to charge the Poco F6 from 0 to 56% in 15 minutes, and a full charge took 37 minutes. And now onto the cameras. There are two on the back, a 50-megapixel main cam and an 8-megapixel ultrawide. The main camera is new, and while it has the same megapixel count as the one on the Poco F6 Pro, this one is different. The Poco F6's main camera does well in daylight. Detail is very good, if not quite as organic as on the Pro model. Noise is kept low here too. The white balance is consistent, and the color rendition is quite likable. Dynamic range is great too. However, the way in which the Poco F6 renders skin tones and faces isn't our favorite. There's some skin smoothing and whitening going on that you can't disable. Here's a look at the 2x digital zoom. While the detail is less than the regular shots, the results are usable. At night, the main cam uses automatic night mode processing and delivers solid images. Detail and noise performance are good, and we have no major complaints about color either. You get reasonably detailed shadows and well-contained highlights too. 4K videos taken with the main camera are solid. They have very good detail, plenty of contrast, and a natural-looking color rendition. When recording video, electronic stabilization is always on. Walking shake does cause the occasional focus hunting on the main camera, but pans are smooth. Nighttime 4K clips from the main cam have good detail, reasonably wide dynamic range, and good color saturation. The ultrawide cam does fairly well for this sort of camera. Detail is alright, and noise is kept down. The colors are more washed out looking than those from the main cam. The ultrawide cam's low-light photos have alright dynamic range, but colors are a bit off. The images are also quite soft. The ultrawide shoots videos in 1080p, and they're not particularly detailed, even for this resolution. Selfies come from a 20-megapixel front-facing cam, and they're quite wide. Skin tones look good, and the detail is decent. The contrast could be better though. So that's the Poco F6. It packs an excellent display, good speakers, speedy charging, and standout chipset performance. The main camera does a good job too. The major downside here is that although the charging is fast, the battery life itself is mediocre. If that doesn't bother you, then in all other respects, the Poco F6 is a solid flagship killer that's worth checking out. Thanks for watching, guys. If you're looking for alternatives, you can check out our reviews of the Nothing Phone 2a and the Poco X6 Pro. Let us know what you think, and I'll see you on the next one.